And Lamar Waldron on the line with us, staying on the line. And now, also, I'm very pleased to introduce a great American hero, Abraham Bolden. Mr. Bolden, welcome to the show.
Good evening. How are you doing this evening, Thom?
Very well, thank you. And thank you for joining us, sir. I'd like to toss this to Lamar very quickly for just a little bit of a setup, wrapping up our last segment and then introducing you. Lamar, run with it.
The important thing to keep in mind is Bobby Kennedy didn't just control the cover-up after JFK's murder, largely, but he controlled the cover-up and even planned it before JFK's murder, because they didn't want anything to come out that could affect the coup plan, and that involved covering up the top-secret attempt to assassinate JFK in Tampa 4 days before Dallas, the one that you and I discovered for the first time, Thom, and then the largely unknown attempt to kill JFK in Chicago 3 weeks before Dallas. And we have with us right now someone who was actually a part of dealing with that attempt and was helping to protect JFK, who was a Secret Service agent in Chicago at that time, a great American civil rights hero, Mr. Abraham Bolden. And it is just great to be on the same line with Mr. Bolden.
Mr. Bolden, give us a little bit about your background before you met Jack Kennedy and what it was like meeting him and getting assigned to the White House, sir.
Well, I was born in East St. Louis, Illinois, to a poor family, and from there I graduated from Lincoln High School and went on to Lincoln University, graduated cum laude in 1956. From there I went off into police work, becoming the first African-American Pinkerton National Detective in the United States. From there I went into the Illinois State Police, where I remained as a trooper for about 4 years. And then I went on into the United States Secret Service. Now, being a new agent in the United States Secret Service on April 28, 1961, the president came to Chicago. And the Secret Service stationed me at a place on the ground floor of McCormick Place in front of a washroom. And that was a very dirty assignment. Normally they would have a Chicago policeman stationed there. But as fate would have it, when the president arrived at McCormick Place, the first thing that he wanted to do was use the bathroom. And there I was. And as the president came down the steps, accompanied by Mayor Daley and men in the powerhouse politicians here in Chicago and Cook County, the president stopped in front of me and asked me if I was a Secret Service agent, and I told him I was. And he asked me, had there ever been a Negro on a Secret Service White House detail? And I told him not to my knowledge. And he invited me to become the first African-American agent on the White House detail. And that became a reality in June of 1961.
That's a remarkable story. Tell us about getting reassigned to Chicago and what you learned about the attempt to kill Jack Kennedy there 3 weeks before he was actually murdered in Dallas.
Well, in 1963, there were several terrible conspiracies that were to kill President Kennedy. And the Secret Service were investigating those conspiracies in Tampa, Florida, in Miami, Florida, and also here in Chicago, Illinois. Now, one of the major conspiracies that we had going in October and November in Chicago, Illinois, was an attempt. There was a phone call that came in from a lady who owned a rooming house who said that she had discovered several rifles in a room and that she had rented it out to a few Cubans, and she was complaining that she thought that these people were out to assassinate the president.
Right. This was along a parade route that he was going to be taking.
Yes, that's right. In the meantime, now, see, the Secret Service denied that this investigation ever took place, but before the House Select Committee on Assassinations, Mr. Martineau was asked about any attempts in the Chicago area, and Mr. Martineau slipped up and testified that he, in fact, received a telephone call that the president was going to be assassinated when his motorcade reached Jackson Boulevard. And they asked him, they say, well, what year did that happen? And give me some details on him. And he said he forgot. And he turned the whole thing over to the Chicago Police Department. Now, Can you imagine a special agent in charge get a call that the president is going to be assassinated, but he can't remember the year or any of the circumstances concerning that event?
Yeah.
Now that's just unimaginable. And this is the assassination attempt that I was talking about that caused the president to cancel his visit to Chicago on November the 2nd of 1963, when he was supposed to come here for an Army-Navy football game.
Right.
Now that was all of a sudden it was canceled because we lost track of those men who were here to assassinate President Kennedy. In the meantime, we had another investigation that had started about October the 27th of 1963, where we had a Cuban here in Chicago told one of the Secret Service informants that the president was about to be assassinated.
Right.
Now, this is approximately 30 days before the president was actually assassinated.
Right.
So we had a couple of agents out investigating that, and all of a sudden, Joe Noonan, who was the agent in...
Mr. Bolden,
yes, go ahead.
I have to interrupt you. We have to take a break, but we'll bring you back right after the break. If it's the realities of radio here. And you can finish telling that story, and then I want to get into the story of how when you tried to tell this story, you ended up in prison, and we're now working to try to get your name cleared. You've been trying to working to try to get your name cleared. We'll continue with Lamar Waldron and Abraham Bolden right after this.